This is a simple costing exercise, or you probably know if you know me that I don't like the word simple, but it is a straightforward exercise, and I hope it explains the principles of basic costing of menu items for you. If you consider banana bread, and I use these two examples quite regularly because they explain these points in detail. This is just a simple list of banana bread ingredients: bananas, eggs, vanilla, sugar, self-raising flour. Okay. I use this exercise here with the cost of a loaf of bread being $6. Okay, that's whether I mean, this was when I used to, we got to a point where we used to buy banana bread because it was, we didn't have the staff to maintain the amount of banana bread that we had to make. So $6, we say $6 is the cost price of the loaf of banana bread, and we can cut it into 10 even saleable portions. Okay, so elementary mathematics would suggest that one portion equals 60 cents. The basic business model that we work on in the kitchen is food and beverage cost, 25% of the overall figure. Labor cost should be no more than 30% of the overall figure. Rent should be no more than 10% of the overall figure. Overheads, 20%. That leaves gross profit, 15%. Okay, so those figures total up to 100%. If we apply the banana bread exercise to that basic business model, you can see the cost of the banana bread is 60% there at the top. And using the mathematics, we would say that the 30% equals 72%, rent would be 24%, and overheads would be 48%. Okay. So that would give us a gross profit, 36%, totaling 100%, $2.40. Okay. So the basic markup procedure, 25% of the food cost. The 25% food cost means the cost of the product, the cost of the ingredients. So if 60 cents is the cost of the ingredients per portion, that means 100% equals $2.40. Okay, basic markup procedure is food cost multiplied by 4. 60 cents multiplied by 4 equals $2.40. If we're working backwards and we want to work out what this is, and some places do that, they don't work on their costs, but we take our cost price and we divide it by the sales price, and then we multiply by 100. This equals the cost price percentage. Okay. So you've got 60 cents multiplied by what equals $3. Okay, so 60.6 divide 3 times 100 equals, I often work that one out. Let's take another example of McDonald's banana bread here. Okay, McDonald's sells their banana bread for $4 per piece, or $3 when you purchase a coffee. Based on the model above, what is the food cost percentage at $4 and what is the food cost percentage at $3? So you take 60 cents divided by 4, multiplied by 100, and 60 cents divided by 3, multiplied by 100. Okay, so 15% when it's $4, 20% when it's $3. Huge markup. If you consider the basic business model, we'll look at the popularity index in a minute. Let's take a different one. Prawn pasta. Great photo. Okay, costs. let's say prawns. Let's say there's 8 prawns in a prawn pasta. That costs $8, $1 a prawn. Pasta, maybe 100 grams. Yeah, we're looking at 55 cents. One piece of garlic, 10 cents. Quarter of a lemon, 10 cents. A tenth of a bunch of parsley, 10 cents. Chili, extras, salt and pepper, whatever. Cost price for one portion prawn linguine equals $9. So the basic markup procedure on this prawn pasta means we take our 25% food cost, $9 is the cost of the food, multiply by 4 for our basic markup procedure equals $36. Can we charge $36 for a prawn linguine? Maybe in a cafe, but I guess it comes down to whether people are going to pay it or not. And that will be determined by your customer preferences and your profiling. Maybe in Penrith, they possibly wouldn't. Maybe in Darlinghurst, that would be cheap. Okay. I would say you would probably have to charge less for money for this, maybe down around the $27, $28 mark, which means it's going to drop the food cost, increase the food cost percentage. Okay, so you may end up finding that this sits at about 30% or 32%, maybe even higher. So if we consider the popularity index here, where does the banana bread sit and where does the prawn pasta sit? The banana bread is high profitability and high popularity. So we consider this a star. The prawn pasta, on the other hand, is low profitability, but it's high popularity, so it's a plow horse. Okay. The question is whether they balance each other out. Okay, and you can find on your menus, and this is what I'll be looking for in your costing tools, will be it's okay to have items sitting at 32% as long as you have an understanding that the cost margins here are low. So you've got to manage the wastage on those ones. You've got to get the service staff to be pushing the banana bread, right? I'd be getting my wait staff to go out there and say banana bread, banana bread, banana bread, banana bread. Let's look at GST, goods and sales tax. Okay, so in a food business, and I'm just referring to food business because that's what we're talking about. 10% goes to the government. There are other businesses and industry that pay GST as well, and that's the same. But if we're just talking about here, 10% goes to the government. So 10% of your sales. Okay. What's important here, let's talk about alcohol. If you walk into an alcohol shop, a bottle shop, and you buy a bottle of wine, you might pay whatever you pay. Let's say you pay $11 for a bottle of wine. The business keeps $10, $1 is GST, and they have to give that to the government. Okay, so they sell their items with alcohol and they give it to the government. But when they purchase alcohol, they purchase that alcohol from somewhere else. So they already pay GST. Okay, so it balances it out. With food, it's a little bit different. Some items have GST on them when you buy them. Some items don't. Most raw ingredients do not have GST on them. So this is one of the biggest challenges in a food business, is having an understanding that you need to put 10% on top of your markup. Okay? So you work out your costs, you put your basic markup procedure on top, then you put your GST on top of that, because if you don't do that, you remember the basic business model was 15% gross. That means 10% of that has to go off to GST, which means you're left with 5% gross profit, which will come down to about 2% net profit. Okay, so the prawn pasta, you can see there, 10% of $36 equals $3.60. $36 plus $3.60 equals $39.60. From here, you either round up or down, probably round up to $40. Okay. Working backwards, if the net sales price, including GST, so that's the price that's on the menu, is $39.60, you divide by 11, okay? Because inclusive of GST is 110%. That's your 100% gross sales price and your 10% GST. Okay, so then GST equals $3.60. That's dividing by 11, which is the same as 110%. Some key takeaways, next steps. Okay, key takeaways. Remember, GST goes on top. Think about your basic markup procedure. Consider your popularity index and whether basic markup procedure is going to be multiplied by 4 or going to be multiplied by 3 or 3.3 or whatever it's going to be. Manage your costs. Always have a focus on them. Always know what you're doing. I would say that your next step here for this exercise, for your practical assessment, will be to start working on the costings for your recipes. As an exercise for your business, you could go and take one recipe from your workplace and you could, and the sales price of that item and work out the costs. You'll be surprised how many businesses actually have an understanding of basic markup procedure and especially GST on top. Thank you for listening. I hope this has been insightful.